can't talk. Have to watch the defenders mutt. Last time I make jokes about a cat owning a dog.
Welcome to ESO Thoughts 7, where we discuss the story. Even in the simple mail system for the mining perk, you get individual letters from the miner. Every single little letter is slightly different. I mean, it's not just one little thing or two little things. I have literally 4 different individual letters in my inbox from this guy saying all these things. Like, here he's talking about his mother. And even when it comes to little tiny details, ESO's developers have a way of telling stories. For example, here on this boat, right below this railing, right here, is a skeleton of a poor guy who was left on this derelict boat. And, well, right up here, on the top of this mast, you cannot tell me someone did not put this boat here intentionally, looking at this anchor, so that someone cannot ritual right over the anchor and pretend they're doing something to it, or summoning it, or something like that. You cannot tell me that a developer did not angle this precise angle intentionally. Look at that anchor. Look at this bar here. The individual stories are well crafted in ESO. You just cannot deny that ESO is not a well-crafted story game. Even in a dungeon like this, there's a subtle story to it. This is another one of those dungeons like Del's Claim. This is in Tella's Folly. Which is a lot bigger, and I cut a bit of stuff out. But there is a subtle story here. There's a guy who brought a giant spider in, apparently. I think this dungeon is bugged in that the spider wasn't spawning. But there is a subtle story to this dungeon in that there are little notes on paper saying that there was this guy who was coming in here to talk to make friend a spider, basically. And it's just they're basically just little pieces of paper lying all around that hint at the larger story around you. It's amazing, really, that the developers put that much thought into it. I mean, even this mine itself, this Tella's Folly, the mine itself supposedly had been crafted to find this giant egg thing, this giant gemstone that someone had a vision of, and then their funds ran out. You cannot tell me that ESO does not have a story for anyone to pay attention to, that there aren't quests, that there aren't the individual little details that make a game great. Most MMOs would skip out on these little details. Like the mailing system, they would just have one generic, hi, here's your daily crafting supply thing. You know? I mean, they wouldn't have a story for a dungeon. They just have a bunch of monsters lying around and be laying there to be killed. You know? They wouldn't have sure, some little developers would put some boats or something in, but ESO's little tiny stories, every single little NPC has a bit of dialogue to them. But you would be surprised how many NPCs have little dialogue things to them. Like, every NPC that you can talk to is worth talking to just to hear the various things that they say. And even when you're going through a dungeon like this, and you're fighting monsters and stuff, you're forming your own stories with your companions and stuff. Like at the end of this dungeon, I went and I upgraded my bow skill here, so now, when I shoot volley of arrows, boom! They light things on fire! How cool is that? Here's a random boss we found out in the middle of the wild. It's a giant scalp named boss with a special HP bar. Goodbye. Here is just us going towards a dark anchor that we want to fight. But remember how I said earlier in one of the anchor videos that sometimes they don't send mobs down? Well, here's one of those cases where the anchor just didn't send anything. And we get here, find this anchor. I was expecting to record video for a nighttime anchor fight, and there's nothing there. A great story right there. Mogball decides to test out not sending Daedra for a while. Here's a little note, even, that's just, it's a song, it's a poem, that's just lying in a random ship somewhere. It's there to read, at your leisure. Here, I'm standing on a boat mast, overlooking Volkolgard's stocks. You see that island there? You think you would not be able to swim to it, because if you swim too far in the distance, you end up getting slaughterfish. But no, here I am, on the island that I can swim to. And and even the thing, they went to the trouble of changing the exhaustion timer from an earlier beta into a slaughterfish killing you thing. Literally, there's no exhaustion timer when you swim out too far. There are just slaughterfish that endlessly eat you alive. There's an achievement for it, even. They took a simple little thing like an exhaustion timer and decided to make a little story for it. I mean, sure, it took a little bit of nudging from the players, but still, they decided to go to the trouble to make a story for it. I mean, they didn't need to make a story for it. They could have just, they didn't mean to make an achievement for it. But they did! And that is amazing, that they're putting this much attention to detail in the game. I mean, this little area here is a bit further ahead from a quest that you'll be seeing in the next video. But it is just a perfect little lead-in, just by talking to a random NPC. And you'll see what I mean in just a moment.
I think I saw a ship on the horizon. I didn't catch the flag, but I swear the colours were Marmor. But they couldn't. No.
And there you have it.